Alright gang, welcome back to the channel. Today is the day that I finally get to start building and constructing my little trailer for this rooftop tent down here. So 2 packages, 1, 2. So I don't know gang, I'm hoping I'm gonna make this work. In my mind, it's a pretty cool idea. I don't know if it's actually gonna come to fruition, but I'm gonna get these packages put in my garage, unbox them, get all the parts laid out, figure out what tools I need, and we'll see if we can get this thing started today. Oh, there goes my back. All right, so I got it all unboxed. So far, I don't see any dings. I don't see any scratches. It was packaged pretty well, and it's actually, I don't know what gauge this metal is, but it's heavier than I thought that it would be for a tiny little trailer like this. But it's beefier than I thought. Now, yes, it's a tiny little trailer, but the metal actually seems to be a pretty thick gauge, enough to support this little rooftop tent and myself and all the goodies. But this is everything that you get. So anyway, folks, I'm gonna get you put back up on a tripod and I'm gonna try to get this thing put together because we still got a lot of work to do. I gotta build the deck. I gotta put the ladder rack on this to support this rooftop tent. And yeah, a lot more work, but should be fun. So stay tuned. Well, all right, y'all, that is the completed trailer. It went together a little bit easier than I thought that it would. It's just a lot of nuts and bolts, and the hardware that came on this thing actually felt pretty good. I was gonna replace them, but I think I'm gonna keep them as is until I see a problem with them, but it's a pretty cool little trailer. I'm pretty pumped about it. So, one thing that is not my expertise level, I desperately want to change out these tires, but I don't know if I got to figure out the bore size of the wheels or the axle. I don't know what it is, so if you guys have any help, I would love to at least get some 15-inch tires on this thing, but I really don't even know where to begin. So if you guys have any tips or feedback on how I can get a bigger set of wheels and tires on this trailer, I think that would be awesome. A little bit meatier, beefier tires. And these are so small, they're gonna be spinning so fast going behind my truck. So I gotta figure that out. But now I'm gonna install some ladder racks that are gonna go on the side to hopefully put that rooftop tent on top of it. All right, well, I got the back end of the ladder rack very temporarily installed. It's just holding on with some clamps. I've got to drill a ton of holes through this frame on the trailer to get these ladder racks permanently installed. They come with J-hooks, which, you know, of course, these are made for truck beds. And these J-hooks almost fit, but they come with these things and they're supposed to fit up through here. But, so I think I'm actually gonna end up drilling some holes up underneath the frame too, to stick these J-bolts up there. But it's starting to come along. The only thing that I can see so far that's gonna be a problem is this. These little, about 3-inch extension right here. Because this thing is so narrow, my rooftop tent will not fit up there because of those extensions. So I'm gonna have to get either a grinder or a Sawzall or something and cut these off flush with the top of this so that my tent will actually fit on top of it. It won't fit in between these. That's the problem. So a lot of work still to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the front ladder rack installed now. And we'll see what's next. All right. So it's pretty straightforward. They just kind of all fit together in pieces. This ladder rack, it felt like it almost weighed as much as the trailer. It's a pretty heavy duty rack, luckily. But I need to get these out of the way. Get my tape measure. Got 30 of them and I lose them every time. Just try to get this thing centered as much as I can. Seven and 7, bingo. And then to get this thing tightened down, it just comes with some little grub screws that you install and kind of holds it tight. She is not going anywhere. All right, folks, that's basically it for right now for the ladder rack. I've got to go get some metal drill bits, drill a whole bunch of holes, go get some stainless steel bolts and lock nuts and all that good stuff to get these ladder racks actually permanently installed in this trailer. But overall, I think it's looking pretty cool. I'm kind of starting to see my vision now, at least. So yeah, this should be, I wasn't thinking I was gonna need my ladder for the tent, but once this gets set up, just tighten those. Once this gets set up, I'm not gonna be able to hop in the tent. I am gonna have to use that ladder. But anyway, folks, let me get this thing actually permanently installed. We'll get a floor put on. I don't know what I'm going to use for a floor yet. Either some outdoor kind of Trex material or just pressure treated pine. I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet, but definitely got to get a floor put on because I got a bunch of stuff to put down here. So stay tuned. Well, all right, y'all, it is day 2 of this little trailer build. making some good progress. I ran into a few snags that I'll show you, but we got the ladder racks installed. I got the all-important sound bar installed. And to kind of secure all of these ladder racks, I drilled out 10 3/8 inch holes and attached more securely these ladder racks to the frame via stainless steel hardware. So I really don't think it's going to be going anywhere. It's on there pretty good. But a couple of the things that happened is this little nut right here that holds that grub screw. I know you can't see me, but there's a hole here that is supposed to hold this ladder rack down, and it's just spot welded, and you can see it kind of popped off. So I had to drill a hole all the way through there, and I got to go get a longer bolt to just push all the way through and tighten it down to keep this thing from popping off, which in all honesty is probably going to be a little bit more secure than just that little grub screw putting pressure on it. But that happened, and nothing major. But on the sound bar, I lost a screw. So I got to go figure out what kind of machine bolt this is to put there, but it's still not going anywhere. It's well tight enough, but I think next up for today is I think I've decided to use pressure treated pine for the floor of this, because I think that is going to kind of make this thing a little bit more rigid than just using some 3/4 inch Trex board or outdoor decking board. So I think we're going to use some pressure treated pine. So I got to run go get that, and then somehow figure out how to get that up there. That's going to be the hardest part of this whole thing, I think, because this thing weighs 175 pounds. And it's not going to be the easiest to get it up on top of this. Oh, and you probably did see I did have to cut these off. These little legs that were sticking up about up to here. So I just took my Sawzall, cut them all off. So now there is still a little bit of a lip here, but I think the rails that are underneath that tent are going to push that tent up high enough to where the bottom of the tent's going to clear all of that. So anyway, gang, yeah, off to the hardware store we go. All right, well, I got that nasty pressure treated pine cut. I hate messing with pressure treated lumber, but I think it's going to be the best option. But a little tip for you folks is if you see the end grain on the end of these boards, you can kind of see the direction of the grain. And on a floor like this, you want to alternate that grain pattern so your whole floor doesn't end up with the big huge rainbow in it. So if you alternate each board with a different grain pattern, it should help. Pressure treated lumber is going to dry, it's going to swell, it's going to crack, it's going to bow, twist, all that stuff, because this is still wet from the chemicals they inject in it to make it weatherproof, kind of. But I'm going to get this kind of situated to exactly the alignment that I want, and I'm going to put a couple of galvanized carriage bolts through here, because anything else really will eat that hardware on pressure treated lumber. So that's what we're going to do next. You can put it down. I mean, we got to kind of adjust it a little bit. I honestly can't see what we're doing. Okay.
Does it go?
Oh,
like...
wait. Crap. Ah! That end has to be over here.
Why?
Because that's where it opens.
Okay. Give me a moment. Don't. Okay. Oh. I think you're too far towards me.
Okay.
But still, I don't understand, like, because there's like a thick bar and a thin bar, so where's the bracket gonna go?
Underneath. It's just a plate, and there's gonna be two bolts that fit up in this track that come down, and there's a plate, and I screw that plate in it.
How do you know if this is centered?
I don't. All right, so another trip to Lowe's, because this is the hardware, half of it, that comes with this tent, and these bolts were not long enough to go under the track and down and clear my ladder rack. I needed about another inch because my ladder racks are a little bit, I guess, larger in diameter than normal rooftop tent setups. So I had to go get some longer carriage bolts. These are 5/16 inch carriage bolts and some stop nuts. And believe it or not, I've had a hard time kind of finding exactly how these things are mounted on all of these rooftop tent setups. So I'm going to show you how this stuff works underneath the track and how to get it actually, hopefully permanently attached to these ladder racks. All right, so these tents have these little, let me get this bolt out that's no good anymore. These T-tracks, they go all the way down both sides of the tent. And to get this thing connected to the crossbars on the ladder rack, you've got this little bracket, and we're going to put our new bolts, carriage bolts, into them just like that, and then this slides in the track. And then once I get this tent picked up just a little bit to get this bolt cleared through the underside, there's another of those brackets that go underneath, a couple of stop nuts, and it cinches it tight.
Up a little bit more. Okay, got that one. Up a little bit more. Okay.
You take a couple more of these brackets, put them up there, and then you tighten them down. So I'm going to do this kind of loosely because I think one of the hardest parts of this whole process is getting everything squared up, and I got to figure out how far back or forward I got to put this tent on top of these ladder racks. I don't want the front too far forward because I don't want it to hit my tailgate when I make a turn, but I don't want it too far back and you know, obviously to create a whole bunch of weight on the back. I would hate to make this trailer teeter-totter on me. So yeah, we're just gonna get this kind of tightened down loosely, and then we'll kind of get it all squared up. Well, I guess I picked a good day to be working in the garage. But anyway, I got all the little mounting brackets installed, so now they're just very loosely in place. So now I got to figure out how to try to square this thing up. So that's going to be next, and then we're going to get these things buckled down and hopefully get this permanently attached.
Mm-hmm.
y'all, I'm doing a little bit of testing here, and I'm glad I tested this out before I go out on my first trip. Wanted to make sure the diesel heater is working, and I ended up having to use a standard 12-volt battery right there because for some reason my BLUETTI, when I plug it into the 12-volt socket, I guess that diesel heater pulls too much power at startup and it kept dying. So I'm glad I tested it out. I'm gonna have to use a standalone battery to keep this heater to get it started. Once it gets started, it only uses about 20 or 30 watts, but that initial startup to get that glow plug hot takes like 130 watts, and it's just too much for that 12-volt little cigarette socket to handle. But I'm kind of starting to piece things together. I got my tongue box on. I had my cooler down here, but the little transom mount that I got is about 4 inches too short to keep it secured down, so I got to get a longer strap to keep that thing tied down. But here is, I got a 4-inch insulated duct. Oops. These things are normally 3-inch ducts, but I have heard that if you use a 3-inch duct, it kind of restricts the airflow and it could kind of bog down the heater. So I went with a 4-inch duct and just a little plastic little vent. And it's pretty chilly out here, and this feels good. It's definitely gonna heat up the tent, but I'll test that out too. But I gotta mount the muffler. It's just kind of hanging out on the side. So I'm gonna have to end up putting this muffler facing that way and kind of down to keep it away from the front of the tent. But this is all just kind of a dry test run. So once I get everything buttoned down in place, as best I can get it this week. There's always gonna be tinkering with this thing, but yeah, I'll show you folks the final product, I guess, once I get everything kind of ready to show you. Well, all right, y'all, I have kind of finished, or at least as much as I'm gonna get done this week, this new little camping trailer. So kind of let me give you a tour of it. There's still a lot of stuff that I gotta tweak and, you know, continue to work on throughout the weeks, but luckily I have this in my garage so I can work on it outside of work, and it should be good. But I do have to use a ladder. I wasn't anticipating me actually having to use a ladder, but I'm not quite as nimble as I used to be, and I can't hop up in here, but I've got the ladder on the front of the tent. You can put the ladder, there's some hooks to put the ladder to have a side entry, but for storage, what I have down here is just a pretty big tote with some 4-foot boat transom straps that's holding it down just fine. I've got my diesel heater also strapped down, and I just turned it on, so I want to show you folks what the tent gets inside. It's around 42 degrees outside right now, so it's a bit chilly. So I just turned it on. It's not going to be warm in there right now, but it's just connected with another transom strap on the sides right there. Then I have the exhaust running down and out the back because my head's going to be on the opposite end. And I do have a carbon monoxide detector I am going to stick in the tent just in case, but and then I kind of described the 4-inch duct that I went and bought, and I just kind of have it snaked in through the side of the opening here. I might put like a towel or something around it when I actually go camp, just to kind of seal off that little gap right there. And then as far as solar goes, you can see here I got my little 200 watt ALLPOWERS flexible panel. I've got the leads coming out from the top of the panel on both sides. They go down all the way down across. This side comes down, goes down the ladder racks, and then they're terminating into this box right here. Okay, so that goes into my tongue box. Now this is just a really cheap, I can't even remember the brand of it, tongue box that I bought, but it's storing all of my batteries that I'm gonna need to run this thing. So twist it, and the solar is connected back there with the BLUETTI solar cord that comes with this machine, and I just have it plugged into here. And I'm probably not getting much, yeah, 12 watts I'm facing the wrong way for solar, but it actually is working. But that's how I have my solar charged in this battery. And I've got my little LiTime 12 volt 100 amp hour battery to power the diesel heater, because again, my BLUETTI would not power that heater for some reason. And then I just had some leftover foam that I cut and placed in between these batteries just to kind of keep them from jiggling around going down the road. So they're in there pretty tight. They're not really going anywhere. But I was really hoping to use this tongue box for storage and stuff, but it's just gonna have to end up being my batteries. But moving around to the side here, I've got my cooler here. It is not tied down because my 4-foot strap is not long enough, and I had to order a 6-foot strap. But I'm just gonna come in and tie it and connect it to these D-rings, flip it over the top, and attach it right there. So that cooler is gonna be pretty secure. Got my sound bar just plugged into the BLUETTI, and pretty much what I'm going to use for this tote is just going to be all my camping stuff. You know, my stove, my jet boil, lights, things that I'm going to need. And then I'll also be able to use this as kind of like a little table to cook on. You know, when I get to camp, I can unstrap it and take it off and use it as a kind of makeshift tabletop. And then here are these little shoe bags that I didn't get to show you guys, but they're just they just slide into this channel right here, and they're strapped. They're connected right now, but they're pretty cool because you can just store some stuff in here, and they just kind of hang off the side. Now, I'm going to come back here in about 30 minutes and see what the temp inside this tent is. But other than that, and I did get some stabilizer pads, so I've got one on each corner, and they're just manual. They're nothing special at all, but they're on each corner right there. And I do need to get more of a drop hitch. This, I need to get like a 6-inch drop, because right now the trailer tows like this. So I got to figure that out. It does need to be lowered by at least another 4 inches. So I got to find another hitch that'll put the tongue of this trailer a little bit further down, because it's not going to tow well at all. It's not going to tow well anyway, being so small, but when it's going down the highway like this, that's never a good thing. But yeah, guys, I'm super excited about this. My first trip's going to be this week that I'm taking it out, and it's supposed to be bitterly cold. I'm kind of hoping it will be. I gotta hope it's below freezing to really test this thing out. But here she is. One of my main priorities is swap out those wheels and tires to at least a 13-inch wheel and tire. But I gotta find out what I gotta do in order to do that. But yeah, these little 12-inch tires, they're not gonna work. Not for me. I really don't want to put this thing on the highway, but I'm gonna have to. But I'm just gonna have to drive really slowly. But let's see if we can get a temp reading in here right now. I can tell you it's already warm. Whoa, it is. Yeah, it's definitely warm in there. It's 57 in here right now, so it's a good more than 10 degrees warmer in there than it is outside. But I'm gonna let that heater kind of keep doing its thing, and I'll end up the video with a final temp check to see how hot that heater actually makes that tent inside. But yeah, guys, that's really it. So there's still a lot of work to be done on it. I'm going to tinker with it, but this is going to be the setup for the first trip. So guys, stay tuned for about 2 seconds, and I'll come back and I'll let you know how warm this tent is inside after that diesel heater has ran for about 30 minutes. Oh. 88 degrees in there now after about 20-25 minutes of running this diesel heater. That is way too warm. I do have it on a little bit higher setting than I probably will keep it at, but I have no concerns about being able to stay warm in this thing this week. So anyway, folks, stay tuned. Again, the first trip is going to be hopefully this week if I can make sure everything is towable and safe. So we will see you soon. Take care, and thanks so much for watching.